here to discuss all things NRL and anything sports related. Please give a warm Aussie g'day to the footy fanatic and America's own Corey Jackson in Outside the Sheds.
Greetings and salutations and welcome back to Outside the Sheds. Shedheads, that was almost a run-on sentence. That's how excited I am right now because I have in my pocket right now magical beans. That's right, the magical beans I have in my pocket are considered magical Brisbane beads because you can't have a magic round without magic beads. And we've got it. Magic beans, not beads, because I don't know what type of hippie. There's nothing wrong with hippies. But what I'm saying is I've got magical beans in my pocket to drop in Brisbane because what we're going to do is we're getting ready to grow some great games. That's right, I said that. I brought magical beans, planting a little Johnny Appleseed. We got it all going, and I am beyond excited. I am excited because we're a matter of hours before Magic Round kicks off. I feel like I'm actually sitting with some of my mates in the Claxton and about ready to have a little bit of a beverage. You know what? I'm going to say this. I might even have a XXX Gold. And we're talking a couple of those schooners if I was up there right now. That is why my excitement is through the roof. Because I'm going to let you behind the curtain of Outside the Sheds. Because you're Shedadamus. That is his number one thing now on the bucket list. Is to get up to Magic Round. To spend that weekend. To kill brain cells. To get good sun. That's what I meant by that. And just enjoy kind of the ambiance of the whole thing, right? Just enjoy being surrounded by the rugby league community, the NRL community, crazy Queenslanders. Now, I've experienced this a couple different ways too. This kind of momentum that is Magic Round, this kind of feeling of the tribalism. You've heard me talk at the beginning of the season. I'm in Vegas every year for the kickoff of the season. And I said that's what makes it so beautiful. You have one day of that greatness, but it's more than that because you have different events going around the city of sin. You've got all of that just transpiring and going on, right? So it's just a buzz. You know, you got the shows there, you got different people there, you got Gordy having multiple schooners, you got just beautiful stuff going around, and it's Vegas. So even though we can have a little hedonism, there's so much other hedonism going on, we're kind of covered up. So that's what's the beautiful thing about Vegas. But then you also remember, if you've been around long enough on Outside the Sheds and been a shedhead for long enough, you've heard me talk about Mrs. Shedadamus and I going and having our honeymoon at the Auckland Nines in 2017. And that was cool too. And what made that to me a little bit different, and I wouldn't say better because Vegas has its positives too, is that I had multiple days of going out to Mount Smart and watching these matches and being surrounded again by just people who love the game. And that's what I miss. That's what I want to see. And I want to see how Vegas turns it out because if you talk to any Queenslander, that is the home of rugby league, right? It's Queensland. It's Brisbane. So okay, that was a lot to start the show. But so let's bring it back. You know me, I've got a good sports car here, and I've got to downshift occasionally. And so I'm downshifting right now. Let's get back in a second. Because before we can go forward and talk about some of this incredible week that we've had leading up to Magic Round, we've got to talk about around 10. We've got to talk about the matches, but we will talk that your Shedadamus did pick 7 of 8 of them. And for the season, we're 54 of 78, and that's a 69% winning percentage. That's right. That's better. That's a better passing percentage, I think, than Patrick Mahomes had last year. All right, Patrick Mahomes didn't have the greatest season, so maybe that's how I should be lumping myself. But we know Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, so we're going to do that. We're going to say 69%, pretty darn good, and we're planning to kick it into high gear at Magic Round 2. Now, let's go into the breakdown. Dolphins 44, Bulldogs 12 was the game that kicked off round 10. A really hard-fought back-and-forth game. And then all of a sudden it gets turned on its head as the Finns score 30 straight points. and neutered the dogs. Yep, I said that. They just clipped them because I don't know what's going on with the Canterbury. Yes, we do. I've said plenty of times, Canterbury got greedy. They messed with their juju. They messed with their foundation with the Sexton Reed Monty situation last year. The way they got Locke and Galvin, as Gus was saying, they're not interested, but they're still going to take them. They got greedy. They went out. They overextended. And now Serraldo's making switches and changes here and there. And after a while, I think that it's frustrating because you can't get any cohesion. You can't let these guys know we're set, we're good. I'm not going anymore. You guys know, rugby league fans are smart. You know what's going on. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody in the kennel, but it's true. All right, it is true, and I don't think it's going to get any better. Not for right now, until you guys, and then with some of the news breaking that we're going to get into. You're going to have to figure this out. I think we all know that Galvin is a 6. They're still trying to play him at 7. Listen, Tigers fans called and said that they're happy where they're at compared to Bulldogs fans. So anyway, big victory for the Finns. Asako getting a hat trick. This guy just keeps getting better and better. And I do think, a lot of people have picked the Dolphins to finish the season in the top 4. And I didn't really fully see that. And I don't know if I still see a top 4 finish. But man, I'm telling you, 5 through 8 is going to be a bloodbath for teams to get into this thing. This last half of the season is going to be insanity. It is going to, I said at the beginning of the season, 2026 is going to be a special year and one that we remember. Because I think there's going to be teams left out of the final dance that are going to be playing some good footy, and they're just not going to make it in. So, anyway, big victory for the Dolphins. They're coming alive. The resurgence. A lot of people think that they could win the comp. I'm not going that far, but big victory. Roosters 28, Titans 12. Chookies making it 6 on the trot. They just seem to really be getting their mojo going. And then you kind of feel for the Titans, because the Titans in this game really got done wrong. They really did. There was 2 tries in that first half that if they were not allowed, this is a different ball game. This is a different ball game all the way around. The Toa try was not a try. His arm was not even connected to the ball. And then the James Tedesco try, you could say, was obstruction. You feel for the Titans, because I do think they were done wrong. And a lot of people still think and still say the Chookies, they have so much strike. They're a better team than the Titans. That is all probably true. But if the Titans go into the shed 6-0 at half, the Chooks are going to have to play a different form of footy in the second half. And the Titans will have a different type of confidence coming out of the shed. So, yeah, it doesn't look on paper right now like it was that close of a game, but it totally is not the case. I do think the Titans got done wrong. But you can't go back and change it. I picked the Chooks anyway, so I'm happy about that. 6 on the trot. Looking strong, the Roosters. Looking very, very strong. You know that Robbo's got to feel good about his boys right now, because I think they can get even better. And does anybody know what James Tedesco's watch looks like? Because I think it goes backwards. Because this guy just keeps getting better and better and better. And I don't know if anybody's not told Teddy that he is aging. Because right now, to me, it's a flip of the coin. And the only reason I think that Edwards makes the State of Origin team for the Blues instead of Teddy is because of his cohesion with a lot of the players that will be around him in that side. I'll still stand on my soapbox saying that I don't think that Teddy should have ever lost his captaincy or his place in the team in place of Dylan Edwards. And I love Dylan Edwards as a player. It's just, to me, Tedesco hadn't done enough to lose that position. But that's me. That's a leg that I still stand on and something I still believe. But 6 on the trot. Congratulations, Chooks. Cowboys 30, Eels 33. Up 30-22 with 5 to go. Somehow the Cows find a way to stay cow-like. And really, Toddy Payton blew up after this match because he really felt that they let down JT as he passes the other JT from one JT to the other. Tomalolo got let down by his teammates in a monumental game for the Cowboys and their history, for a guy now being capped more, the most capped player ever, and to pass Jonathan Thurston, that was poor. And I would say something else, but you know how I am on this show. That was just poor. You can't take it away, because I tell you, the team that didn't give up, who I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and that's including myself. Because to me, the Cows with 5 minutes to go do not lose that game. But all the blue and gold fans, all of you guys have to be very, very, very proud of Parramatta, because the Eels could have easily shut it off, seeing the scoreboard, seeing how their luck has been going lately, and they didn't give up whatsoever. They continued to fight to the end. Josh Adokar, I don't care what anyone says that he might be getting a little bit long in the tooth. This guy is straight emotion. This team feeds off of him. I think they feed off him as much as they do Mitch. Mitch might steer them around the park, but Josh Adokar brings belief into that side at times. And so anyway, great victory for the Eels. I still don't know how the Cows lost that match. And then losing that match, and then losing Tommy Dearden for 7 to 10 weeks with that syndesmosis injury. A double blow. That's a double black eye. We just had a big UFC fight last week, and, there's a lot of stuff about the UFC I'm not a big fan of, but, that was a double black eye shot right there to the Cows. So, big victory for the Eels. Congratulations to the Blue and Gold Army. Knights 44, Dragons 10. The only thing I can say is the Knights put on an offensive display that is pretty darn incredible. And I kind of felt that possibility in Vegas. I remember doing the first show of the season, and I was even talking how, for as much slack as Dylan Brown got with his contract, his 10-year deal, and he's never played 7 before, and all this type of garbage that kind of came with Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown never said anything back to anybody. He never raised his voice in interviews. He never once said, "I'll show you." That's just not his style. That's what makes him quiet cool, too. And I like Dylan Brown a lot. But there was just something you kind of felt different. We've talked about this over the weeks, about how the mentality in Newcastle has changed, too. But I'm going to say something right now. That team that I watched, and I know they beat up on the Dragons, and everyone's beat up on the Dragons this year. But, wow, to do what they did to them in Wollongong, to just put it away, and then you look at Greg Maju. 8 tries in his last 2 matches. 8 tries. Milky Jenkins is starting to look over his shoulder right now. The Knights, hey, Tigers fans, Knights fans, I'm very, very happy for all of you, because you've deserved finally moments where you could peel the curtain back a little bit and say, isn't it a beautiful sunrise today? And they're able to do it. And we're going to go in the deep dive and we'll have a little bit of more discussion about this team. But congratulations, man. They are a fun team to watch, Newcastle. And everyone always says this saying, and I hear this more when I'm dealing with the NRL than I do over here in the Divided States. But everyone goes, well, they're everybody's favorite second team. I think there's a couple of them over there. I think the Knights and the Tigers and the Waz are all probably running for that position of everybody's favorite second team. Because these teams they're fun. I know the Tigers are going through really tough times right now with all the losses they have in their playing group. But Newcastle Knights, they are definitely a team, and I watch all the matches anyway, but they're a team that I get up for when I watch their match because I know that there's going to be an energy about this team and a belief that makes them really, really fun to watch out on the paddock. Rabbitohs 36, Sharks 12, minus some huge names, none bigger than Latrell. The Rabbitohs hammer the Sharks. Yeah, you heard me say it. I hammered the Sharks. And really embarrassed them. And I hate to say that way because, like I said, you know me. I'm Switzerland when I'm on this show. I don't pick favorites. That's not my job. That's not why you listen to this show, is for me to push anybody's agenda. But that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing for Cronulla. That was embarrassing for what that team has the potential to be. I don't back away. I don't run away from this. I said that the Sharks were going to be in the grand final. And now when I watch them, I don't know if the Sharks are going to make the top 8 because I don't know which Sharks team's going to show up every week. And that's with the fan base, the new stadium, everything that Cronulla's got going for them. That's why this game was so crazy to kind of for me to sit back and I think what I was going to say about it, because you could sit back and talk about the Rabbitohs, which, all right, hint, I'm going to talk about them on our deep dive. But right now I'm kind of going towards the Finns. Sharks. Sorry, Dolphins fans. I'm going for the Sharks, and I'm going to talk about the Sharks because I would say besides Kale Iro, that team just, you don't know who's going to show up from week to week. Tricky occasionally has a good game. Nico Hines, everyone says for him to run the ball. Sometimes he doesn't feel like he wants to run the ball. And I've always tried to support Nico. I've always tried to look at the positives for him. But it's frustrating. If you're a Cronulla fan like my agent, wow. What do you say about this team right now? It was a strange game. Alex Johnson getting a hat trick, but I think that shows you a lot. Like I said, I'm going to go into a deeper dive about this game here in a second and about the teams, but great victory for the Rabbitohs. Man, great victory. Sea Eagles 32, Broncos 4, and one of the craziest stories we have covered on this show for a while. Fosball continues to roll and get stronger. It has now become an avalanche down the side of the mountain. It has become a tsunami that's got some gigantic waves that Waimea says are even too big for them. It is a movement. There it is. It's a movement. The Manly Warringah Singles, the Sea Eagles are a movement right now. And it is with Foz. It is with this team, the belief that we've seen. I cannot believe, time and time again I say this, I cannot believe this is the same team you watched for the first 3 weeks of the season under Anthony Seibold and what they are now. It is hard to even think that what we just saw a few weeks ago, what this team has become. It's almost incomprehensible. It's a little strange. But it's awesome to see because, I know there's a lot of people who aren't Manly fans, but the competition is better when Manly is better. It gives the people that don't like them somebody to dislike a lot, but I don't think anybody wants to see Manly crash out and look like a shell of the team that a lot of people either love or hate. And that's what Kieran Foran has done. He's added this type of pump, this type of zest back to this team. He stripped stuff away, and got them playing the type of footy that everybody expected them to be able to play. A lot of people picked them to finish with the wooden spoon this year because they didn't believe in the direction Anthony Seibold was taking this team in. They're not finishing last, Shedheads. Telling you this right now. This team has a great, again, I'm going to talk about them a little bit briefly here again in the deep dive. When you look at the other side of the coin right there, the Broncos, you wonder if just the loss of players for so long has really started to affect them, because for a Brisbane team to only score 4 points, it either shows you how well Manly is playing, or it shows you that, again, Brisbane's got some tired legs right now. And they better wake up because they've got a juggernaut about ready to run over the top of them during Magic Round with the Waz. A fresh Waz 2 team Anyway, so I don't think that is as much of a black eye on the Broncos. I don't think anybody is proud that they only scored 4 points if you're a fan. But I think, again, they're going to round into form. They got some victories during the losses of some key players that I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to get, including the win down in Melbourne over the Storm. That started the Storm in a different direction, kind of had them ascend. Congrats, Manly. You guys are something special, and I don't think it's getting ready to let up anytime in the near future. Storm, 44, Tigers, 16. Storm scored 4 tries in the first 12 minutes of the game, and that's all she wrote, Shedheads. That is all she wrote. Because that is the Storm team we were expecting to see this season, okay? Not a team that we were expecting to see lose 7 in a row. They looked like the Melbourne Storm that we all know and love or hate. Cameron Munster getting 2 tries started looking like the money that we're expecting to see all the time. And come on, you weren't expecting Cameron Munster to turn it up as he gets closer and closer to Origin. His eyes are getting a little bit more shallow, looking a little bit more viperish, because he knows this is the lethal time of the season, and he knows he's got to be at his cutthroat best going into State of Origin. But Jerome Hughes looked good again. That was a huge Falago going out with that fractured cheekbone. That could be a lasting layover too, because they might be stuck there for a while. But that's a lasting hangover to me that could affect the Storm going forward. But that was a big victory. But I will say something, talking about the West Tigers, another team missing a lot of players right now, some key players. Abby Curacao, we know how he kind of steers his team around the park. Adam Dewey, to me, right now, the MVP of this club this season, not being in there. Those are key. Those are gigantic holes for the West Tigers. So you understand why they're playing the type of footy they are. But I will say, again, unlike years before, what was it, last year when the Storm put 60 on them? And they just looked like they had no idea what direction to go. That was not the case this time. They actually tried to fight back. The West Tigers showed a lot of heart and a lot of spunk. Their problem was the 4 tries in the opening 12 minutes, which sealed their fate. But if you're a Tigers fan, you saw something different with this team. They fought, they battled, they tried to claw back into it. They just didn't have enough pieces, enough armament to get them where they needed to go, and they didn't have enough time to really get back to where they needed to be, because they just couldn't make any type of mistakes being down that many points. So the writing was on the wall. It just was. But congratulations to Storm fans. You guys are back in the win column. And I think that they are. I don't think that they're going to be able to pull that. What year was that? Was it 15? I think. I don't know. But when they lost 6 in a row, and I don't think they lost another game the rest of the season. Don't see that happening. But I do think that they are going to get back to being a little bit more of the Melbourne Storm team that we were expecting to see. Panthers 30, Raiders 18. Out of the box quick behind Talangi's double. The Panthers in a really, really fun game. A hard-fought battle. No miracle of Mudgee this year. But the Panthers, this game was so good. Both teams finished the first half with a 100% completion percentage rate. How often do you ever see that happening? But it was just top-notch elite footy. And that's why, again, Raiders, you lost that match, but they are going to be in a slate. They're going to make the finals. They're going to be the green machine that we saw last year. But, the Penrith Panthers are just special, man. They just are. They're a dangerous club. We found out some stuff a little bit earlier this week, why maybe they're as locked in as they are, because a lot of their history is in the balance coming up the next couple of years. But this team, they're going to do some incredible things this year. And you know that they're my tip to win the whole thing. The revenge tour, as I say time and time again. But big victory. And just fun football. Fun football all the way around. We just are so privileged to be fans of this sport. Because every week we get that one game that when it's done, you just have a smile on your face going, man, that was fun to watch. Man, that was good. And that's even if you don't have a team in the fight or not. It's a great product right now. There's some frustrating things. I know we'll all admit that. But it is going in the right direction, and we expect it to only get better. So, great round 10. Let's go a little bit deeper right now, because Shedheads, as we go in the deeper dive, I could go back to dissect how the Cows found a way to lose an 8-point lead with 5 minutes to go. We could do that. But we're not doing that. Because I got to be positive. I told you I've got magic beans in my pocket right now, so I am not going negative on this show. Won't do it. We also, please, if anybody can actually send me a message, give me a call, please, 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 let me know if Mitchell Moses is able to walk. Please let me know. Because the last time I saw, the guy, I think, snapped his leg in 45 places, how he grabbed that and went down. So either Mitchell Moses is not able to walk, he's in a wheelchair, or he's got crutches, or Mitchell Moses is the leading candidate right now to win Best Actor in this upcoming Oscars. That's right, Academy Awards. That is how good of an acting job that was if he does not have a broken twig. So, please let me know if Mitchell Moses is okay, because I think we all want to know. We're all ready for State of Origin, and I don't think it's him going, what is it, Tiny Tim with his little crutch. We don't need any of that. So, please, either let's give him the Academy Award, or please let me know he's in traction. Anyway, the stories that we have in the game, the intriguing stories that we have in this game, continue to grow to me more. And I said this a little bit, I hinted, Newcastle, Manly, these stories are becoming almost folklore. With how these seasons have turned around, how these clubs have started to just pick up, put the fan bases on their back, and they're taking everybody on a ride. Because they're fun teams to watch now. They're teams that are enjoying their footy. And it just puts a smile on our faces. We said that. So folklore stuff. These two teams are providing something that I don't think anybody thought. Because you've got the dynamic new spine with Newcastle, Brown, Ponga, Sharp in the Hunter. And then you've got Fosball on the Northern Beaches, which is now something everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs. Fosball, Fosball, Fosball. And the last time I checked before the season started, that word did not exist. But now it's become something we all know if you're a rugby league fan. It is Fosball. And I'm going to say this right now. I think you can take your pencil and you can put both of these teams into the finals. I do. I think both these teams are going to be there when it's all said and done at the end of the year. I think they're going to make it. And if they do get in, they will have as much of a shot as anybody to win the competition. That's how well these teams are playing. And if they continue to play this brand of footy, they're going to be there. But I digress, because we've talked about the new mentality and the new spirit that those clubs have had. And I'm not going to do this. We try not to retread stories unless it's something over the top on Outside the Sheds. But the result that left me a little speechless was the way the South Sydney Rabbitohs dismantled the Cronulla Sharks. The Bunnies had a 30 spot on the scoreboard before Cronulla even thought about trying to score. A 30 spot. How the heck did Cronulla allow South Sydney, without Latrell Mitchell, without Jamie Humphries, how did they allow them to go up 30-0 on them? And they didn't score their first try until in the 70th minutes. What? Again, we just got done talking when we were starting this show off about how how that's just maybe one of the worst performances I've seen from a team is what Cronulla just did. But I say this to Mrs. Shedadamus all the time. Let's not beat the seal. Let's not do that. It was destruction, and they did it without Latrell Mitchell, who right now is the biggest force in the game. This guy, what do we always say on this? It looks like everything is coming to Latrell in slow motion, that he's making all decisions on a dime, and everybody else is just moving around him, and he's just able to just pick it as he's going because the game, it's like the Matrix to him right now. There was no Latrell Mitchell on the field. And without no Latrell Mitchell on the field, what are you going to do? You're going to insert a different Latrell. That's right. No Latrell Mitchell. We had Latrell Seawalt. And if this tells you anything, and it's Magic round, so let's talk Magic. The Wayne Bennett magic dust sprinkled all over the Bunnies team had this kid sprout up quickly out of the ground because Latrell Seawalt, 5 for 6 on his conversions, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, and 3 tackle breaks. For a young man that no one knew anything about going into this match. If that doesn't tell you that Wayne Bennett isn't sprinkling magic dust on a team, I don't know what else will. This guy has this team playing hard. It is something to listen. We know the passionate fan base that is South Sydney, and it just didn't feel right all last year. They just couldn't seem like they could get out of their own way. They seemed frustrated. Nothing broke their way, and I think it sometimes during that season that team really didn't know which way was up. But then you can't take that away from Wayne Bennett. He is the same way when they're on top of the world as he is when they're a bottom feeder. He doesn't go up highs and lows, right? He keeps those guys focused, and he knows deep down, being in the game for 150 years, that you cannot unsettle a team by going too high or low. This is how I am. This is how we're going to play, and that is just the way that we're going to do it. But what makes this story so crazy is the way they're playing. No David Fafita, no problem. No Jai Gray, no problem. No Jamie Humphreys, no problem. No Latrell Mitchell, no problem. The next man up mentality that Wayne Bennett has instilled in this team is why when these guys are out, they don't skip a beat. They really just continue to plug away. They see what they have on the field, and they go forward. And they just go and get the result no matter how they have to do it. Alex Johnston playing on 1.5 legs and getting a hat trick, to me, shows everything of where this club's at right now. Because every time I watch Alex Johnston run in that game, I felt pain. Because you know that he was probably at 60%. But how is a guy at 60% with one of his legs being half immobilized, how does he score 3 tries? It's because everybody's in position and they're setting him up to be successful. And for that to happen, little bit magic fairy dust, but the team is all locked in. And Wayne, for as much as and as bad as Cronulla was in that game, was how good South Sydney were. There was nothing about South Sydney that thought they were going to lose that game. Nothing. Nothing at all. And that to me shows you a team that is dialed in, a team that believes. And again, what can you say? Wayne Bennett has got another team right on the precipice of doing something special. And think about this. This is a team that next year will have David Fafita back and healthy and have Payne Haas with Latrell Mitchell. If that doesn't scare the competition, I don't know what else will. Because, yeah, you think they're having a good season this year. Wait till Wayne has them all fired up going next year with that type of a force. Now, for me, this is what sets up, and again, Magic beans in my pocket. Game 2 in a matter of hours, Friday night. We've got the Bunnies. We've got the Dolphins. And to say that that game isn't going to be straight offensive explosion and detonation, I don't know what else will. It is going to be a fun one to watch. Latrell is back. I cannot wait to watch this match. And there's a few of these matchups coming up this round, which we're going to do our breakdown as we always do, and our picks. But this is going to be can't miss television, and it really can. And again, Magic Beans, Magic Fairy Dust, Wayne Bennett sprinkling, it has all the ingredients to be something that we remember and we're talking about in next week's episode. So can't wait for that match. Congratulations, South Sydney. You blew me away. Now, as we go on the 40-20 Shedheads, oh my gosh, the NRL Newswire, just the last 3 days, is unchained. It is a runaway freight train going down the track, and no one can find the break. I was on the show. I don't know if you guys heard. I was on Andrew Voss's show. I was a guest on there on Tuesday. I guess it would have been, it was Tuesday night my time. It was about 11 o'clock Sydney time. And Andrew Voss said to me on the show, as we were talking about how crazy, because that we were starting to get wind about what was going on for the Warriors. But he said, Corey, he said, the world of rugby league never sleeps. And I laughed, and I was like, yeah, you're right. But he hit it on the head. Because he said that before two of the biggest stories we've had all year dropped. And boy, did they drop. Sitting second on the ladder, purring like a fine Corvette, or whatever type of sports car that you might like, the Waz are looking incredible. Sitting second on the ladder, eating the fine cheeses, just feeling good about themselves. Feeling so good about themselves, they're like, one of the reasons we're humming and purring like this is because Tanner Boyd is coming to his own as R7. And what did they do? They rewarded this young man. And you got to feel good about Tanner Boyd. I'm telling you, when I was up in the Gold Coast and Tanner Boyd was playing for the Titans, and they looked like they were going to pull off that upset of over Manly, and he did that cutout pass that was intercepted, and Manly won the match from that intercept. And you saw just how downtrodden that young man was after throwing that ball and knowing that he probably had just cost his team. From seeing that Tanner Boyd to seeing the Tanner Boyd that we're seeing right now playing for the Waz is just a breath of fresh air. It's awesome to see. Because I do not root for anything bad for any of these players that we're talking about. There are players I like more than I like other players. But I don't want to see a guy cost his team, no matter who they are. All right? So, seeing that Tanner Boyd now has extended with the club until 2029, that got a little bit of whispering in the halls in New Zealand and the rest of the NRL. Because if Tanner Boyd has now just signed an extension to the end of 2029, what does this mean for Luke Metcalf? Uh-oh. Luke Metcalf, who came back a few rounds ago, and they didn't move Tanner Boyd out of the 7. They put Luke Metcalf in the 6. And it didn't work. It was horrible. There was no cohesion. Metcalf wanted to kind of be the 7. Tanner Boyd kind of didn't know if he should continue to take charge of the team. It was just trying to fit two different of the same kind of player on the field, but not knowing how to work together. It was just bad. So you start wondering, they're going with Tanner Boyd. What does this mean for Luke Metcalf, right? And then you hear that the Waz are going to meet with Luke Metcalf's representatives. Okay, well, that's what you expect them to do. They want to find out what's going on with their freaking player. And then news breaks that they've just given Luke Metcalf permission to see what he can get moving forward to leave the club at the end of the year. Well, I don't think anyone really thought that it was going to go. You watch a lot of the pundits, I'm saying a lot from Gordy to other people were shocked that this was going down. A lot of people thought they were going to somehow find a way to keep Tanner Boyd and Metcalf in as the Habs pairing going forward. But you can't do that. And I said this time and time again on this show, you cannot, for whatever reason, Tanner Boyd and Chanel Harris-Tavita are fitting perfect together. Chanel Harris-Tavita has been a guy that a lot of people thought was all flash at one time. He's not anymore. Chanel Harris-Tavita is a hard edge 5'8" that can hit the cutout pass, will tackle like a freight train, and will run the ball. And Tanner Boyd is then allowed to just kind of do his leading the team around the field. It's been a perfect combination. But so much so that Luke Metcalf was not even going to be on the bench going to Magic Round. So anyway, they give him permission to look. And in a matter of hours, a deal is linked and signed that Luke Metcalf is going to the Red V. If I would have recorded this podcast yesterday, I would have predicted this. And I know you're all going to say, all right, yeah, you were Shedadamus. I was. Because it's perfect. It's a perfect match. They cannot find a 7 at St. George. I know they have their young prodigy, the little fire engine, that they're thinking that, maybe he has the potential. Yeah, well, we've watched, and he's too small right now. He's too small. He's got to get bigger, and you don't want to stunt his growth. Luke Metcalf is right now. He was leading the Daly M's last year before he got injured with the Wasps. He had New Zealand in the palm of his hand. That's how crazy this story is and how quickly the World of Rugby League can switch and just change itself up. It's a 3-year deal for him to go to St. George. And that is now Luke Metcalf's new home going forward after this season. And that is a huge haul for St. George. There's not been a lot of positives for the St. George Illawarra Dragons this season at all. Not many things that put smiles on their faces. But if you look at this now, the spine that this team is going to have next year with Luke Metcalf, Daniel Atkinson or Prince Tonga actually, being his pair partner in the halves, and Scotty Drinkwater, and Jacob Little, and maybe Connor Watson, if they really can bag and tag Connor Watson to come to the Dragons. That changes a lot very, very quickly if you can put this new spine together. It changes a lot, drastically quick. I don't know if this is going to save anybody who might be quote-unquote coaching there right now, but if you're a Dragons fan, you actually might see a little light in that tunnel if they can pull off the signings of Connor Watson to come there. And we know the player sometimes when Jacob Little gets on the field for the Dragons, he's usually the best player on the field. The energy that he brings, the way that he moves stuff at dummy half, he is a special player, and he fits in well with that offensive scheme. But that's huge. But then you look back at how insane and how great the pathways is going for the New Zealand Warriors right now. Because they just got done losing Luke Metcalf, and they still don't know what to do. They've got so many halves. They've got Chanel Harris-Tavita, and no matter who you believe, there's talk that he might be being shopped to some clubs over in the Super League for next season. I think what he's trying to do is Chanel Harris-Tavita is trying to sign a 1-year deal and then trying to ink a long-term deal to go over and play for the PNG Chiefs. I think that's what he's aiming for and what he's trying to pull off. But, he's not going to go to the Cowboys anymore because, the new signing of their half, And so he's just kind of stuck. He really is. But, so you have him. You have Tamarie Martin, who no one's really talked about, who is coming back from injury, but Tamarie Martin's still there. You have Jet Cleary still there, who a lot of people thought that he was for sure going to be getting some big league play this year. First grade for sure. And then you have Luke Hansen. And now there's talking that Luke Hansen might actually be getting some interest to go join the Gold Coast Titans. So maybe that is where he is going off to. But when you talk about pathways and a team that has everything set up for them, the Waz, they are set. They are set. And there are not many teams in the competition right now that can lose a player like that and not really worry too much. That's how well they're going. And that's how strong they look at this current juncture. So, crazy news. I'm saying congratulations, Dragons fans. I know that we better hold on to that because we haven't heard that saying for a while. Congratulations, Dragon fans. But it's that move. It moves that quick, this competition does. Metcalf going from the poster boy for the future to not even being in the club's plans and future for 2027. So huge news. So that lasted 18 hours of that being the biggest story in rugby league, and then a seismic 7.0 earthquake hit the NRL and the rugby league world as Ivan Cleary took to the microphone and told the world that 2027 was going to be his last year in charge of the Penrith Panthers as their head coach. I could not believe it. I found out that news. I told you, Shedheads, my sleep schedule is so bonkers, but I found out that news live at like 3 a.m. my time. I saw a breaking story, and I looked it up, and I couldn't go to sleep for another hour and a half. That's how much I was just like, what? Because what it does, and what it did for me, was it made me start thinking all these key pieces now that are in motion with the Penrith Panthers. And it just changes the landscape of the NRL and in rugby league in so many different ways. It is a bombshell story. It's huge. I think most of us were expecting Cleary to sign an extension with this club. I'm saying he is 55 years old, so it's not like Ivan Cleary is an old coach. I'm saying, look, he's a puppy. He's a babe. He needs his diaper changed compared to Wayne Bennett. So it's not like he is long in the tooth. But I think what this shows all of us, especially us that really follow this game, is how tough and how taxing it is to be a top-tier head coach in the NRL and in professional sports. It is grating. It is tough. The expectation that's on Ivan Cleary now year after year, because now it's not a matter of, will you make the finals? Now everyone's saying, are you going to win the competition again this year? Are you going to make it 5 out of 6? And to have that type of weight on you time and time again, no matter if you have as skilled of a team as what the Panthers are, it is tough. That type of weight, that type of pressure is the stuff that creates diamonds. But he's navigated it. Ivan is, it's his disposition that he doesn't get too high, too low. But it is tough. It is a tough profession. And you better be thick-skinned. Look what it did to Shane Flanagan when he just could not get the Dragons in the win column. He went from one of the most powerful, strong presences that you would be around, and I know I've met him face-to-face, but to a man that looked like a shell of himself that was hobbling in the sheds and was just praying for a victory on a live interview where he's like, oh, please let me get a victory. It does that type of stuff to people. So maybe Ivan just wants to get out. Maybe it's just time for him to go on. I know the Panthers said they're not letting him go anywhere, that he is going to be a consultant, I think, with the team or work with the football operations. So they want to keep him close by. And he's also come out and said that he will not coach against the Penrith Panthers in the future. So I guess that tells you everything about where he's going. So does that mean that Ivan Cleary wants to be the head coach for the Kangaroos? Does he want to be the head coach for the New South Wales Blues? I don't know. But you would think he has a lot of coaching left in him, and if he is a coach for, the Kangaroos or the Blues, it allows him to still work with Penrith and not have to sacrifice, the every day trying to figure out what he needs to do for the Penrith Panthers. So that was neat. That was big, 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 big news, right? So then we find out, and you kind of wondered, well, who the heck and who will be his successor? And Peter Wallace, who will, some of us by every means remember the guy played 101 games for the Panthers exactly, and has been Cleary's assistant, has been named as the man that will take Cleary's place as the head of the Penrith Panthers. Now, one of the cool things about Peter Wallace is he has a lot of that Ivan Cleary, quiet, cool, not too high, not too low personality, which I think is going to fit very, very well with him going forward as the head coach of the Panthers. And we all know his first order of business, if this is going to be a successful transition and to keep this team on top, then he has to resign Nathan Cleary. It just has to happen. If Wallace does not sign Nathan Cleary, all bets are off. And I'm not going to go as far as saying it's like Pompeii. There's not a volcano behind us. Maybe. I don't think there is. There are mountains behind us, so maybe one of them is volcanic. I don't know, right? But if he doesn't sign Nathan Cleary, all bets are off. All bets are off. And I know we were talking about pathways with the Waz before. They've got a great pathways program for the Penrith Panthers. But the problem he's got is even if he manages to pull off re-signing Nathan Cleary, listen to the names that are off contract. Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Brian Ta'o, Moses Leota, Mitch Kenny, Isaiah Papali'i, Blaise Talangi, Paul Alamonte. All of these guys are going to market on November 1st. All of them. November 1st. That is why the uncertainty is so strong with the Penrith Panthers. Because for them to continue to stack trophies in their locker box or their trophy case, they've got to get it right. And there's no way they're able to keep all of those guys. So if you can't keep all of those guys, and you can only keep some of those guys, you better keep the top gun of all those guys. And that is Nathan Cleary. And you would hope Isaiah Yeo, right? But when people go out to test the market, all bets are off. So to say that was not a 7.0 seismic shake and we weren't in the Rumble Isles is an understatement. Because a team that you just saw for the foreseeable future just dominating is now backing into the ropes a little bit. Not maybe for the next 2 seasons, but going past the next 2 seasons, there's a lot of uncertainty at the foot of the Blue Mountains. And guess what, Shedheads? We will be covering it all here on Outside the Sheds. So, gonna be some crazy months coming up for us to see what's going on. And all this will be going on during the Rugby League World Cup, too. So, fun stuff in the future. Now, Shedheads, we're gonna make a little bit of a transition right now because I want to give a congratulations and shout out to the Ladies Blues for their 14-10 victory over the Maroons at Suncorp and an Origin Series victory for New South Wales, making it 2 on the trot. What a great series. I watched both games. Couldn't take my eyes off the screen. And yes, I know Jess Surgis and some of the girls are on the screen that make that very, very easy on the eyes. But to me, it is such a fun game to watch, the ladies' game. Nobody lays there in the tackle. Nobody fakes head injury. Sound tackling is done. It's a quick play of the ball. There's just not a lot of theatrics that are there. If you guys have not sat back, guys and girls, sorry about that. If you Shedheads have not watched any of the NRLW or the Ladies State of Origin matches, you're missing out. Because it is good footy, and it is footy where fundamentally you barely ever have a high shot. High contact is just not there. It's just a quick play of the game. So congratulations to the Lady Cockroaches on making it 2 in a row. And congratulations and good luck going for the sweep, which has never been done in the State of Origin for the ladies. So they're going for it, the Blues. So great match. It was really, really fun to watch. And congratulations again on the series victory. Now, we went into it about my Magic Beans in my pocket. We went into it about Magic Round, how excited I am. But let's nail it down right now. Round 11, Magic Round, kicking off in a matter of hours. Friday night, Bulldogs versus the Sharks. First game on Suncorp Stadium. And I am going with, that's right, I'm going to say it, the Sharkies. That up and down team that will be back up again and will cause more misery for the kennel by beating the Bulldogs. Game 2, Friday night. Dolphins versus the Rabbitohs. Latrell back. I just think there's too much strike. I think there's too much physicality. I've got the Rabbitohs winning Game 2 on night 1 of Magic Round. Saturday, we've got a game that it may be the most exciting game. There's a few of them, but this could be all right up there too. Sea Eagles and Fosball versus the Claw, the Tigers. I still think there's too many injuries for the West Tigers right now to get over the top of the Fosball and the Sea Eagles. I'm going Sea Eagles to kick off Saturday in Magic Round. Cowboys versus the Chooks. I was back and forth on this. With Tommy Dearden being out, Jake Clifford running the side, I'm still going with the Cows with the upset over the Roosters in Suncorp. I'm going North Queensland Cowboys. Storm versus the Eels. I know it was an incredible comeback victory for the Eels last week, but I think the Melbourne Storm are remembering the Melbourne Storm again, and I think they've got a point to prove. Do not be surprised if this is not a blowout. I've got the Storm over the Eels. Sunday, Knights versus the Titans. I told you I'm all about that train right now. I'm on it. Give me the Knights over the Titans. I think they will, if it's a fast track, this game could be another game that could get away from the Titans. But I got the Knights with a good resounding victory. Broncos versus the Warriors might be my game that I want to see more than any other game of the weekend. Broncos playing on their home field. Waz will have that place rocking to the Waz fans. I'm going with the Warriors. I think this team is special. I cannot wait till they finally match up against the Panthers so we can watch this. But I've got them handling the Broncos for the middle game on Sunday. And then finally, Dragons versus the Panthers. You know, I know that we finally got some magic moments during Magic Round. Some magic moments for the St. George Illawarra Dragons with some signings they've got with Metcalf coming. But that isn't going to do a darn thing for them against the Panthers because the Panthers are there to do some violence, and they're going to beat them down. So I've got the Panthers. So we've got the Sharks, the Rabbitohs, the Sea Eagles, the Cows, the Storm, the Knights, the Waz, and the Panthers are our picks for Magic Round. And for our Gun of the Round, Shedheads, it is our first, and I'm going to have to go back and look at the tapes. This might be my first back-to-back winner for my Gun of the Round, but it was an easy one. Greg Maju, 5 tries, 245 running meters, 7 line breaks, and 8 tackle breaks. This guy is a force of nature right now. And 8 tries in 2 weeks, again, is insanity for me. So, congratulations, Greg Marju. But I do have an honorable mention. I talked to you a little bit earlier about Hart. Alex Johnston on that 1.5 twigs. 3 tries, 170 running meters, 3 line breaks, and 3 tackle breaks on that 1.5 leg. Yeah, anyway, congrats, Alex Johnson again, signing with the Chiefs as player number 2 and having the game that he did. This guy is something special. There's a reason that he's the top tally try scorer in the game. He's a special player. So congrats. My honorable mention. We don't do honorable mentions on this show, but the performance I saw, listen, it's my podcast, it's my show, and I am the Shedadamus, and that's what I'm doing. So, Shedheads, again, I hope you're able to catch some of these matches. Magic Round, my bucket list, you know what I'm going to be doing. I got a really close friend of mine coming into town for the weekend, so it is going to be rugby league and festivity all weekend. So a lot of monsters. I'm drinking one right now. A lot of caffeine will be going through your Shedadamus system this weekend. But until next week, Shedheads, watch over each other. Again, stay out of trouble. Don't get caught. This is Outside the Sheds. I am your Shedadamus, Corey Jackson. Until next week, see ya.
And that was another fantastic episode of Outside the Sheds with Corey Jackson, talking all things NRL and all things sports. So please remember to smash the subscribe button and share this with your family and friends and show them what Australian sport is all about.